Welcome back to the Berg Podcast. Thanks for joining us today. With me today is Dan.
Hey, everybody.
And Ford.
Hey, how are you?
And we're talking about the weather and being old. And the two actually go together quite well, right? So our
grumpy old men.
Our conversation kind of started around the weather patterns. And we do a fair amount of snow removal when it snows. And the odd thing is, the last couple of years, it hasn't really snowed that much.
And it hasn't been cold.
And it hasn't been that cold.
Right? Because a couple years before that, it did snow, but it would snow and it would melt in like 4 hours and you'd have no residual effect because it would get warm again.
Yeah. And snow was kind of always like a pretty consistent work filler for us. So for a long time, the two kind of really partnered well. We would do the excavation components while the weather was seasonable, right, and reasonable. And then when it became not so seasonable and reasonable, we would do the winter weather related work. And they always kind of cyclically went hand in hand for the most part. They sort of, you could anticipate roughly like mid to late December, you were going to have to be wrapping up your outdoor excavation, paving, concrete projects, so that you could start your snow projects. And then sometime late February, middle of March, there would be a transition again. And every once in a while, there'd be an outlier, right? We'd get a snowstorm in October, a snowstorm in the first week of April. Yep. But otherwise, for
it was pretty
a long time, it was pretty predictable.
Well, and the funny part of it is like we go back, and you don't have to go back real far, but you go back to like Charlotte's birthday just passed, and I always relate Charlotte's birthday with winter because she was born during like the polar vortex of 14. That's when they invented that word. It didn't exist before 14.
You mean like snow bombageddon or whatever they came up with?
Snow bombageddon or something. Yeah, snow something. Yeah, whatever that snow
bombageddon.
Yeah, something. I forget what it is, but
bomb cyclone. There
bomb cyclone. That is it.
Yes.
That is it. Which
yes.
Which I don't want to take us completely off the rails, but that we have talked about this. Some of these names they come up with really sound like they could be a drink at a hip bar. A really popular, like Northern Liberties is probably too old now, but Northern Liberties bar, you walk in, you're like, can I get a bomb cyclone? I don't know what that is. Yeah. You're probably not going to walk out. It's like
it sounds strong.
It sounds real strong.
It has PBR and some kind of.
It's going to have a very bright color to it, I think, like that.
Umbrella or no umbrella?
No umbrella, because you can't use an umbrella in a snowstorm.
Yeah. It sounds like
maybe
something
a straw,
like it's like two drinks combined. It's like you drop a shot of something into another drink.
A Jaeger bomb and some kind of cyclone. I don't know what that is.
Maybe like that,
the old punch.
Yes. What's that called? Low Country Punch at Fat Ham. Yeah. Same thing. It's just definitely going to be trouble. But I think about it because it was so cold and it stayed cold. Like, that was a year that I think Ford had said you were gone like 30 days in a row. You didn't go home or something. I wasn't gone that long because Charlotte was born in the middle. So I came back for like 4 days and then went back.
Very reasonable.
But it was a life choice, like I wanted to stay married. So I stayed home for a bit. But we don't get that anymore. Even in years where it snowed, we haven't gotten like a cold snap where it really stays cold. And that's what we're noticing here is it's cold, but it's also staying cold. Right. It's not, doesn't appear to be getting any warmer in the next couple of weeks, and we'll see how people deal with it.
Well, last year I went away with family vacation and I was talking to either you guys or Colt or somebody, and it was actually warmer here than it was in the South.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
in the middle of February or something like that.
Say like late January. Yeah. We were getting weather in like the 60s or something.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
But last night I saw that the real feel in Georgia, Atlanta was 16. I was like, oh man, they're
shutting
not
down.
Prepared. This is going to be real trouble down there.
I've got some of these places like saved in the weather app on my phone because like the kids were looking at schools or we were going to like lacrosse camps or whatever it might be. And so there's like some spots in like North Carolina, and I was looking the other day because I was trying to help Aiden. He's leaving today to go back to school. And we're like, oh man, it's going to snow. Like, should you leave Thursday? Yeah. And some of the spots that they were looking to go to school, like 22 degrees, 23 degrees. And I was like, man, could you imagine if like you were making that choice? Like, I'm going to move somewhere south because it's
theoretically
warmer, or I'm going to go to school somewhere south of the Mason-Dixon here so that I can go somewhere that's more consistently warm. And you're there and it's 22 degrees.
Yeah. Well, and you think of some of the houses down south.
Yeah.
They're not built for it.
They're not built for
the cold.
Yeah. It was actually funny. I saw the other day, speaking of which, there was like a picture, who knows, whatever, how much was true, but it was showing like different age houses. And even like, I don't know where it was, but it was like showing how much snow was still on the roof based on the insulation, based on the age of the house.
And when they were built,
yeah, it's like, okay, way back they didn't have much. And then there for a while they put in like Sirius, and then now they've kind of gone back to a lighter version or whatever they can qualify as.
Enough.
Yeah, enough. Right. And all of a sudden you could just see by the roof, like, okay, which one was like, that roof's clean. Okay, there's been a lot of popping out through there. They're just paying to heat that thing versus the other.
I saw that too. And I would like driving through my neighborhood. I was like looking at the houses. I was like, which one of these houses? But it was incredibly windy that day.
So it blew it off. So you weren't sure.
I was like, I don't know if that's the wind or
that could be photo trickery. I mean, but it makes logical sense to you, like what that is. Like, because I grew up in an old farmhouse and the walls are 2 foot thick.
Yeah.
So they're good, but all the intrusions are not good.
Yeah. Yeah.
The window wells, the doorways, those are not the parts. Like, you're standing by the doorway at mom and dad's and like, you still need your coat on.
You can feel the air coming through.
Yes. Yeah. And when it's real windy, you find out real quick how that goes. And it's like, but now the walls are 6 inches thick at most.
Yeah. Well, what's funny is, I go north a fair amount when I can to ski and always did. My family, we were fortunate. They always had a house in Maine, way, way north. And specifically my grandfather's house, which was an old like bed and breakfast style, old New England house. And when we would go up there, and he's in northern Maine, and he would say like, hey, can you help me clear the snow off the roof? Because you have to clear the snow because it gets to be too much weight. But you talk about like a house that was probably, built in late 1800s maybe. And it was not a stone house. So it was, stick frame house, but it had thick walls, a lot of insulation because it was built for that climate. And there would be, like 3 foot of snow sitting on the roof of his house. And they had like these long rakes that he had a metal, running seam roof.
Yeah.
And you'd pull the snow and you had to be out of the way. And we'd pull the snow right on top of ourselves because there was no snow at home. This just snowed like 6 feet on my head.
Yeah.
And, but it is true. You look around and then you'd see some of the houses and there's no snow on the roof. And you're like, man, they're hot, like a lot like out here. They run on stoves, so they have boilers, but they're really using stoves to heat those houses. But
a lot of wood stoves,
a lot of wood fireplaces. Yeah.
Well, and the other thing is like the codes have changed. And people don't realize it, but I think it was I don't remember how many years ago, but we actually helped the one local church because they had a flat roof and the roof wasn't built to handle the load. And what happened was their previous maintenance people had retired, and I guess that information
didn't make it to the new
people, and all of a sudden like the roof just down in. And we've had a couple of those roofs around here where I remember we were building a building for a customer a couple years ago, and I'd hired this guy to help me kind of like through it. And he said, hey, you need to know about the snow load. And I was like, huh? Like snow load? I thought they were just like, he's like, no. They have this new way of calling it that it's like a live load versus an actual snow load. And so we went back to the manufacturer and they're like, oh yeah. And they actually had to like upgrade the product,
the components there,
because they had this like number that said it was the same number, but it wasn't the same calculation. Yes,
a live load would be more like somebody walking across the roof as opposed to dead weight.
Sitting on there. Yeah,
interesting.
The other thing too is that's interesting when you get to some of these places that are cold is that you think like right now, we're freezing and California is just outright on fire.
Oh yeah.
But that I've heard that you can't build fireplaces anymore in California. Like they've changed some of the building codes, and because they don't want fire, and partially because of smoke.
Okay.
And
I was going to say, is that like an environmental?
It's an environmental thing.
But you could probably have electric fireplace.
You could definitely have an electric fireplace. You could, Elon could definitely build you a fireplace. He could build you a fireplace. I mean, it's going to be a coal-fired boiler that's running it, but it's electric for you. It's electric for you.
Someone created.
I was really laying into Aaron the other day because something they said about like electric cars and Teslas, and they were, I forget what they were mad about, and I was like, yes, except for where's like, and I just started working backwards. Like, where's the power come from? Like, you got all these charges, and how much carbon footprint do you think it took to put all those superchargers at all the Wawas and the gas stations and the wiring, and who built these new transformers? And I like worked into it. I was like, wonder if it would have been better just to keep running the fossil fuel ones instead of. And I was just purely trying to. I don't even know the math of it. I was just purely trying to be contradictory to just aggravate them about the electric cars.
Yeah.
But,
Well, and everybody's abandoning them now too. It's amazing how much they're politically based. Like, I don't think that there's not a venue for them, but right now it's like all the manufacturers, like, it's crazy what Volkswagen had to like shut down and all this kind of stuff because they all jumped on this wagon and went like, I mean, what was involved? Like by 2026, we will have no more internal combustion vehicles and like all this stuff. And then it's like, that's great, but they don't sell. So now what do we do? Like, I saw something the other day. Was it Penske? No. Hertz. Like, if you rent an electric car from them, like at the end, you get a text message. Would you like to buy this car? Because they're trying to get them out of their
just want them
fleet.
gone.
Yes.
Wow. Interesting.
So it's been
I
cold.
think like I think there's more space. Like we're way off topic now, but I think there's more space for like the hybrid electric, like
That makes logical sense.
yeah. I rented one inadvertently one time, and it's actually I didn't mind it because it had a normal engine, but could also run off a battery.
Yeah.
So I wasn't worried about like how far I was going and when I would have to charge, any of those things, because it could still put a tank of gas in it. So I feel like that's like a lot more logical bridge at the moment.
Yeah.
But I'm not an expert on the subject matter. So
Tamara's car was in the shop, so she got one.
Yeah.
And the funniest part was because when you start the vehicle, you know, air quotation marks, but like you back out of the garage, it has to have like a commercial beeper on it because it doesn't.
It's quiet. Yeah.
You know, that's when it's not using it. It's like, bah, 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 bah. It's like, what the heck is this thing? Oh, because
it was the first thing Ford was going to disconnect.
I was like, yeah, I don't think it'll be a while till we have one of those.
The one I rented did not. That's interesting.
Oh.
But
Well, you rented a full electric?
No, he had a hybrid.
Well, you have the hybrid. If you have the hybrid, it still, in theory, could have the gas.
But when
motor.
you're backing up, it's on the electric motor.
Yeah.
Unless
pulling
you
out
have
of the parking
zero
spot.
battery. Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Anything under like a couple miles an hour, I think, is all electric, and then like the engine kicks on to
Kicks in.
supplement it, or if there's no battery power.
I don't know
or
that I've
whatever,
ever driven an electric or hybrid car. I mean, my brother had one. I didn't drive it. I rode in the one Tamara had.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever driven one.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
My uncle has had one. My uncle in Florida has had one for a long. He was like one of the early Tesla.
And they were saying with the cold temperature, we're getting back to cold.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You reduce your
battery
the
life.
efficiency, right?
Yeah.
Well, the cold does that to everything. Like, you know, like you think about your cell phone. You're outside for a long time when it's cold.
Does it to people.
Yeah. It drains your internal battery
much faster in the cold like that.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true for sure.
Unless you're Carol.
Yeah.
Carol's battery seemed to run better in the cold, maybe.
Gavin's doing some training for a long run right now, and he was out.
He's doing like a marathon type thing, or
he's doing an ultra.
the 100 or whatever it is.
Yeah, 100-mile trail run. Yeah.
All right.
I know. I'm like, what?
Brian's working out with him.
No,
he's going to be there at the start and the finish. Have lunch in the middle.
I'll be there. I'll have a backpack full of snacks or waters or whatever he needs. But I don't. Yeah, I just not something. This is the old part. And maybe like 10 years ago, I would have considered like not doing 100, but could I pace him for like 50?
You ride with him for a while and just kind of veer off when you're like, okay, I got to tap out type of deal.
Yeah, but that's the old part of the conversation.
Yeah, I don't know that I would have tried that. Well, 10 years ago for me, it's still like maybe only 5 years ago for yours.
Okay.
We're
a little
younger.
a few years younger.
I don't know if I told the story on here, but Ben, my buddy, he was doing marathons there for a while, and he kind of stopped, and then someone talked him into doing a marathon, and he did no training for it. He just like,
oh gosh.
I mean, he's a pretty healthy person.
He's a pretty healthy guy.
Right.
Yeah, but
like
no training.
He like jacked up his knees and he still has issues with them just because of the, you know, all of a sudden you run whatever the 20, you know,
6.2.
Yeah, miles.
26.4. Because 13.2.
Yeah, 26.2, yeah.
26.2, 13.1.
Yeah. Because you see all the little stickers
we
on
see
the back of the cars.
Yeah, you see it on a car.
Yeah. But like he still has like 15 years later some
effects
remembrances of that happening.
Scars.
Yeah. It's like, wow, that's a interesting experience.
Yeah, that was my only concern. I was like, man, like 100 miles, that beats you up. I know there's people who probably do it regularly, and if you trained for it long enough or did it enough, it probably would be less impactful. But
we won't get into it, but a guy that put in our kitchen, his sister does them like on the regular. That's like her thrill.
That's her thing.
And the unique effects that it has on your body. I mean, it kind of feels like your body's telling you that this probably should be like a one-time, accomplished it, move on to the next thing. Because he was just explaining some of the things that she goes through, and I was just like, so okay. I mean,
I don't not understand, right? I get the challenge of it, right? Like, and when I asked him why, I said, like, you never even run a marathon, right? Why 100 miles? And he's like, well, you could go do a marathon tomorrow. And I was like, I couldn't run a marathon. He's like, you would finish it. You could go 26 miles tomorrow if you wanted to. Like,
maybe not tomorrow, maybe like over the next 2 days. Because I assume the pace is what he's suggesting you could alter.
Right. Because he said like he thinks that like, and that's what he was trying to say. He's like, I don't think there are that many, like as a percentage of the population, human beings who could or would like subject themselves to 100. Now there's a lot of people who do them, like you go to these events, it's like 200 people signed up, but he said you go to
out of how many?
You go to a marathon and there's thousands of people who sign up to do marathons.
Well, you know what's, that's true. But the other thing here and like, pure sports of it is, have you ever seen the things when they try and have people run on a treadmill at the pace that the true marathon, like world-class marathon people run?
Like the people in New York finish it or whatever?
That like win the New York. Have you ever seen this?
No,
it is hilarious. They fly off the treadmill. These are like legitimate athletes, can't keep up. Like people don't realize, like I'm going to make the number up and be off. But I mean, I think it's sub 6 minute miles that they run for 26 miles.
26 miles, right, yeah.
Like it's,
I mean, it's outrageous. For 1 mile.
Right, I mean, it is outrageous. That's what I'm saying. Like they put people on a treadmill and they're like, okay,
2 blocks.
Right? Like they just get them running at like a reasonable pace, and they're like, all right, now we're gonna just slowly turn it up until we get to the point. You see people like dead sprint, like their form has come apart. And they're like, are we there yet? And they're like, we're halfway there. And eventually, like they just either fall off, jump off, get knocked off, or and then like one person will make it. Like I mean,
I did the half, and like my target was like under 10. Like that was my target. Like
under 10 hours.
No, yeah, exactly. Close.
10 days.
They like picked me up like, okay, we need to open the roads up.
Under 10 minutes per mile.
Yeah, that was like the target point.
Yeah, same. I used to do the halves, and I was like, if I can do it in under 10 minutes a mile. Yeah. I was terrible about pacing though. I never realized it. I ran with my sister once or twice, and she was like really into it. Her watch would like say like her pace and all that stuff. I just ran, right? Yeah. And she's like, all right, like she's preparing separately from me. And I'm like, yeah, if I could stay around a 10-minute mile for the whole thing. So we start running, and I had never tracked it before. Like and she's like, you said like 10 minutes per mile, right? And I was like, yeah. She's like, we're at like 7.5 right now. And I was like, oh, I just meant like on average.
I'm going to slow down.
By the end, I'm like crawling, But
when you've done those, it's so hysterical for two factors. One is like, I just always would pick a person out, and like, because after a while they got smart. And the first, it was like whatever your like tag number was is where you started.
Right.
But then some of the last ones I've done years and years ago, they would like, okay, what's your time? And then you would kind of get put in that bucket so that the people that were rolling out.
You ever do Broad Street? Like
the 10 mile. Yeah,
that's the one where they're like, okay, you got to submit some other races or some other times. Otherwise you go to the end.
Back when we did it, it wasn't the thing that it is where people are like jumping in for free to try and like, because they can't get numbers. Back then you could just sign up for it. But no, the interesting thing
Ford's first run actually was just something happened at Temple, and he was running, and he just ran from Temple.
He was just running.
I was just trying to feel safe until he made it to the stadium.
I was just trying to get down to Eagles game. It was faster.
Mob mentality. He saw a bunch of people running.
So he just started running. I better get out of here.
But you train. I spent a couple months training for it or whatever it was, and like at that point I was in better shape. But then you're like doing it, and then you see these people that are passing you that would not be the people that you expect.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
The people that are dressed in the dragon costumes that look like, they might not get outside much. You're like, what the heck is going on?
How are they beating me?
Right.
I mean, it does give you a little extra juice. You're like, not that guy. I'm not letting that guy pass me.
The deceiving thing too about like long distance running versus like being like a sprinter or something is like the body shapes you see for long distance runners don't always in your mind equate to who you think of when you think of runners, people who are good. And I'm not suggesting that they're like the best runners out there, but I know some folks who have a body shape similar to mine and it's not pretty, right? Like, and they are fantastic long distance runners. And just like at times I'm like, that doesn't make sense, but the body just treats it much differently than sprinting. Yeah.
And it's just work. It's just, it's effort.
Yeah. Right. And at some point it like your heart actually isn't working much harder than
I realized what you said about the pacing. I had never, so just to be clear, I've never even run a 5K. Not that I couldn't. I mean, I work out 3 times a week. I run 4 or 5 miles.
Yeah.
I could do it. I have no desire to run a distance for any reason. I say like, if the girls asked me to do it, I would do it. But if they don't ask me, I'm not doing it. Like there's just no reason. I mean, I have a car. Why do I need to run?
The girls aren't going to get you to do like the Ocean City.
They haven't asked yet. They're more in my speed. They want to sprint. They want to see if they can beat me in a sprint. But so we were running down the shore with my sister, who was a long distance runner and does still run. And she was like, "All right, we're going to go out and run, whatever, 4 or 5 miles." I'm like, "Okay." And it was Mara and I. I think the other girls were with us, but we knew that like really Mara was the only one that would probably be able to stay with us. Charlotte maybe, but she's a sprinter. And so we start to go out. And my sister's like, "You're exactly what you said." My sister's like, "You're way off pace here." I'm like, "What are you talking about? I'm just jogging." She's like, "You're jogging at like a 6:30 pace." And I was like, "Well, this is the speed I jog. This is jogging." She was like, "No, we got to get down to a pace." And I was like, "I can't." We made it like 1.5 miles, and I was like, "I can't run this way. Like I'm going to either walk or we got to run." And so I just like went off and ran ahead of them, and because we knew where we were running to. And I realized I don't have a pace. I mean, that is the pace. And it's just going to, whenever I run out of energy to run, that's when I'm going to have to stop, because I couldn't change paces. Like it messed with, I didn't feel like my stride was right. Like it was, I had never considered it that whereas my sister could, like your sister, she could say like, "Okay, we're going to run a 10 or an 8 or a 6. And she would know what that feels like.
It makes sense to me immediately. And I had always like thought of it in that term, but I was always measuring it over the duration of my entire run. So I never considered the fact that like, and it was obvious.
You're just saying your total time divided by miles equals X.
Okay, yeah, I averaged a 10-minute mile. That's great. That's what I wanted to do.
I ran at 6 and walked for 12 for so many.
I've never considered, even though it makes logical sense, the fact that like my pace had varied significantly during the race or during the run.
Based on your body's energy level condition.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, it is a really strange.
It is
strange thing. And my sister in that scenario also pointed out that I don't run right for distance. Like my gait is still like I want to go fast.
Yeah,
And this body type is not really no longer conducive to going fast. But at one point it was built to go. I could run fast, short.
Well, but I mean, if you think about back that day, all the sports that all of us played were all based off of sprinting.
Yeah.
Not that that's an excuse for any shape or form, but like I didn't do long anything. I mean, like you did, what was suicides for basketball where you had to like, how fast can you get back and forth from the other end, or like soccer or football
sports
or anything.
In general, honestly.
Right.
Like
everything is like hustle quick and then
sports,
chill. Hustle chick, like even when we played like that outdoor hockey thing, like you beat a guy to the ball, puck, whatever it was, and then you passed it, and then you had like 10 seconds off till the next thing happened, but it wasn't a constant. It was just more of like give it all you got.
Go as fast as you can.
Hit somebody.
Go as fast as you can. Catch your breath. Go as fast as you can. Catch your breath.
Yeah. Charlotte played her second basketball game ever yesterday. And it is about the funniest thing to watch, because she was a little better at dribbling. It didn't look like she was fighting with the basketball. But we were talking about it last night after the game, and I said, when you're running, when you're sprinting, the limiting factor is how fast you can run. When she plays soccer, she can dribble as fast as she can run, so it's still how fast she can run. But in basketball, it really needs to be how effectively you can dribble.
So she overran the ball. She left it behind her.
She is the fastest person on, and the parents were like, "She is so fast." And then she gets the ball, and if she can maintain the dribble really fast, but she won't slow down. And so Mara and I were trying to talk to her afterwards and say, like, you have to adjust your running speed to how fast you can dribble, because otherwise, like, the ball starts to fly everywhere. It like hits her in the head and flies. So, you know what I mean? Like, it's just completely out of control because she can't dribble that quickly.
Or you got to take like giant dribbles, really push it out in front of you.
Balls real hard.
Easy pick, or it goes out of bounds because you don't hit it quite right, or whatever it is.
Hit it quite right.
Well, I mean, not to, because we were just having fun, like talking off topic, but it's actually interesting how this ties to business. Like I was just thinking about that. Like, you can out speed thing. You know what I mean? Like, everything in today's world is like instant, quick, fast as you can go. And, but you have to make sure that everything is what's the thing about the military? The front line can't move forward without fuel and food or whatever it is. Like, you got to have everything coming with you. You can go at amazing paces, but you have to make sure that everything gets there. Otherwise, something will happen.
Sustainable, right?
Yes.
Like, can you keep doing it?
Well, in production-wise, it becomes so much, and we've learned this realistically the hard way, right? That initially we were able to do our work at the pace that we determined we could do it, and that's how we would bid. But at some point, we got into like a little bit of a different world of who we were bidding against, and it stopped mattering how fast we could do it, which sounds crazy as I say it. But in other words, realistically, if you wanted to win the job, the number needed to be this. And we knew that. And so we would manipulate the proposals, the actual estimates themselves, in a way that we could realistically believe we could get to that number. Mm. But if you really step back and look at it now, years later, we weren't ready to be at that number. Like we weren't capable of putting in X amount of feet of pipe or of moving this much soil or of doing any of these things. And so what you would do is, I would, whether it was Ford or me bidding or Ford or you looking at a bid afterwards, if we were talking about it before or after, we'd look at it, and effectively what I was doing was just taking away margin, right? Like effectively what I really did is said, we're just not going to make any profit on this. But instead of doing that, it shows a profit, but you just go real fast and you say like, well, we're going to do it that way. But you can't. Mm-hmm. And not that it can't be done. We couldn't do it that way.
Right.
And it's something that we really had to learn, that we had to play within the guidelines of how we could do the work. And if we couldn't, then we couldn't. Right. Because if you can't and you take the job anyway, they don't pay you more.
Right. You're just not going to make money.
You're just not going to make money. And then you're going to have to come up with reasons why, like there has to be a justification, an explanation of why this didn't work.
Right.
Well, that's but when you really go through it, you get to the bottom of it and you were like, we were never going to make money.
The team leaders in the field make such a difference, because there's always creative ways that, like, yes, you might not be able to do this, but you can do something else. Or it's always interesting to see that situation where, like, you don't want to put someone in a bad spot and make them do something they can't unrealistic do, but they might be able to. I mean, I'm still thinking back to that one job where, like, it was actually, it was Dad and he did it, but like we were able to, all of a sudden, we were supposed to be hauling material one way, and all of a sudden we decided if we hauled material both ways, we weren't able to keep up with the one way, but because we were able to backhaul,
the round robin,
we were able to offset that delta by, doing another task at the same time. And so we're able to find that way to make that mechanism happen, because, everybody wants to do what they're comfortable with. And that's something about construction, is you're never comfortable. Like, hey, we got to push this a little bit here, push this a little bit there. But that was like those type of things where, like, there's always an avenue to figure it out, because, you can't always be like, well, we like to do it at this pace. And they're like, what? Like, but everybody likes to do it at a pace that makes them feel comfortable. Sometimes you got to kind of push it a little bit.
Yeah. And it's really helpful when you let them know, like,
I had to do this at this pace on this job.
Right,
Can you beat this?
And one of the things we learned in this process too, I think, was admitting, not admitting, like being honest about how you built an estimate, right? And I'm taking it purely from the estimating side, but I mean, there's one particular job where I remember I went to Gary, and I'm not ever suggesting Gary goes slowly. All I'm saying is that Gary was going to anticipate this is I can reasonably achieve this and maintain it over the course of this entire project. And it was a big project. And I just went to him and I said, it was a marathon. And I went to him and I said, hey, here's the thing, is that the way I bid this, we actually need to go a little faster than normal. I felt like this was where the number had to be on a public job. And the bid opening played out that we had to be, I was pretty close. It was a really good bid in terms of beating our competition. Mm-hmm. Was it a good bid in terms of our guys being able to produce the work? That was yet to be seen. But I went to Gary and the team and I said, like, hey, listen, this is not the normal production rates. Like, based on what had to happen here, we need to go faster. And it was a reasonable number faster, but it was faster. And it was faster for 7 months. Mm-hmm. And the team pushed through, and we actually did really well on the job. And had I not said it, we probably would have not done well. But not because they weren't trying, right? Because there's like an expectation of how fast you go. Right. But if people know that we need to go a little faster and it's reasonable, then they can do it. The hard part is when you put people in a position that they can't win. Yeah. When you have a bid that you just know, like, something, you missed something and you need people to make it up for you. That's hard. That's hard for the team. And it's tying to getting old. Like we've seen it now, like we've seen just about most of the things I think we're going to see. And it's a humbling when that happens, when you realize that you made a mistake. And now everybody's got to try and figure out a way to make up for it. But that's also the great part of a team. You know what I mean? Is that you have people willing to try and work and figure out clever ways to round robin or to, just do little things,
Yeah.
And there's all sorts of them, like in different things, the round robin truck runs, guys figuring out a better way to cut and fill or to, how to manage the soil piles, different machines that we could use. We've seen them do it a lot of different ways that have really helped us.
Yeah, for sure.
But not when it's this cold for. We can't seem to do much anything right now.
And the cold's not going away.
And it's not going away.
We've got a couple of weeks of this like Arctic temperatures here in the Northeast.
They're kind of saying what the rest of the month.
Yeah, that's what I've been seeing, man.
I'd like it to make it to like the second week of February, but I want us to find work just so I can ski in these ridiculous temperatures. The conditions will be perfect. But
yeah, we don't want to sit still that long. We gotta do something.
Well, what's funny is actually one of the things, and it's a conversation we've talked about, is permitting. Like what's really biting us right now, truthfully, is not actually the weather; it's the permitting again.
Oh.
It's that based on weather, an owner was not super concerned with not having certain permits in place. And he was like, well, that's further down the line. But when the weather changed, it changed the process, right? Like we still wanted to do the earthwork, which was slightly complicated by the fact that it poured and then froze. So they, will they pay the little bit of extra money for the potential exposure for unsuitable when you rip, when you rip frost? But it's further complicated by the fact that even if they didn't want to, I could do the pipe work and create a little extra digging, but that particular permit is not in place, which wasn't a concern at the beginning, but it's a real concern now.
Okay.
So it's one of those things where it's everything can get you in any given condition. And people don't think about when the weather hits, what the impacts are.
Yeah.
And what it does. So
I remember years ago, we were on a job with my dad. We were doing land clearing for a builder. And at that point, it was a housing boom. And there was 18 inches of frost. And the builder was paying excavating contractors to literally use their hammers to break up frost because they knew the basement's in the ground that bad.
They had to go.
Yeah. Or they chose to, or whatever the scenario was,
Right.
but they were able to upcharge. Well, I don't know how it worked, but I just saw them sitting there just like, it was the first time I'd ever seen anybody hammering dirt. Like you hammer rock, you hammer concrete, but you do not hammer dirt. But they literally were just sitting there breaking up
the frost.
Yeah, the frost out of the ground. I was like, that's when it's like, you got to go. Someone needs something.
I don't know how deep the frost is right now. Like
It's not bad.
It's not too bad. Yeah.
Stetson said 6 or 8 inches.
I was
Saturday,
I think it was. I was putting snow stakes in.
Yeah.
They went in fine.
Yeah.
It depends if it's exposed dirt or if it's grass. There's all these factors, but it's not that bad.
But is that like typical for us? I mean, what's it been the last couple of years? I mean, has there been no frost line?
No frost.
Yeah.
I mean, a couple years ago. I mean, we go back. What was that? Maybe 6-7 years ago. We had 18 inches when we were ripping.
Yeah.
I was thinking about just there were some pictures from when we were doing that job down there on 100, and like the mud.
Yeah.
That was there in the wintertime because it was just like, they were basically having to use track equipment when they needed wheeled equipment because the mud was just that bad.
That thick. Yeah.
So you take what you get and you move on.
It's winter.
It's winter.
Speaking of cold, when we speak of cold, you know who I talked to the other day?
No.
Rob Grafe.
Ah.
I haven't talked to Rob in a while, but I had talked to Rob, and he said to say hello to you. He's keeping an eye on us nonetheless. He was asking about Camino because he knew about it from somebody else. And he was like, "You got this project," and he, as always, he knew significantly more than he let on. And then he let me tell him what we were doing, and then he was like, "Yeah, that's true." Well, then,
he's just fact checking.
He's just fact checking me. But yeah, I talked to Rob because of your dad, actually. Your dad, based on some craziness at your dad's site. We were trying to figure out, a solution. And Rob came to mind, and I was like, "Hey, would your guys be interested to go back where we came from here, go back to the original and have them do a little bit of labor work that we've not had to do in years past." So,
nice. Yeah.
But
that's probably, what's that?
I said, that's definitely taking it back there.
That's taking it back to the old days. Yeah.
That's probably a good place to wrap it up. It's cold. It's going to stay cold for a while. We're still old and getting older. Yeah. And apparently we don't quite go like we used to. So thanks for joining us today, folks. We hope you got something from this, and maybe you'll come back for another episode.